lining up for something that will soon be off limits, visiting the museum.
It's the last day to be here, and I thought I should utilize the opportunity.
Effective at midnight, new restrictions in 3 parts of Quebec. Movie theaters and bars will close, restaurants limited to takeout and delivery.
We just wanted to grab a bite before they all close down and, support local businesses, I guess.
Now, the government has to enforce the new rules, which also include a ban on private gatherings inside and out.
If you're inviting guests for a party, you're breaking the law.
So it's giving police more tools to issue tickets on the spot for some violations and get warrants more quickly, remotely, so they can enter homes where they suspect illegal gatherings are happening if the homeowner won't cooperate.
Be very fast and easier to give a fine of $1,000.
Also new, mandatory masks at protests, even when the protest itself is against masks, like this one in Montreal tonight. Protesters who don't comply after today could be fined $1,000. For some, giving more tools to police raises serious concerns.
Finding solution for people to continue their life without necessarily being together is best than giving more power to police officers. As we know, there's a lot of abuses, of brutality and everything. So this just opens also new doors to that.
The first thing is really keeping the message clear.
This behavioral science expert says enforcement can be effective to get compliance quickly, but the messaging around it is key.
You need to give them reasons. You need to show them how you are personally going to benefit from adhering to these policies, how we're all going to benefit, not just the vulnerable and the sick.
The Premier said it is urgent to act because negligence on the part of a small number of people is putting lives at stake. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
So similar situations, very different responses, at least at the moment. Let's bring in Dr. Lenore Saxinger. So here we have 2 provinces, Quebec, Ontario, similar case counts, but one is reintroducing restrictions, the other is not. From a public health perspective, what's your evaluation of those responses?
It's actually very hard to know what the right answer is for that right now. There's a lot of complex considerations in putting in restrictions and taking them off, but I would say it's important that if we are unable to contain infection rise through testing and tracing and isolating, if that looks like it's in jeopardy, it becomes very important to look at the restrictions again. And that's it's simply if we can't turn it around another way. So I think that time will tell which one of those responses turns out to be more correct, because it's really unclear, actually.
So other provinces have to be watching what's going on in Quebec and Ontario with a fair amount of concern. So what should their takeaway from the case counts and the responses in those 2 places be?
Well, I think it tells us that, we might be sick of COVID, but COVID is not yet sick of us. And if we let down our guard, our numbers will continue to rise. And that if we manage to contain it without more restrictions, we'll be able to keep things the way they are. And if we cannot, we will have to go back to restrictions. And so I think it really becomes a question of how to communicate the most important priority mitigation measures that are voluntary. And if that doesn't work, we have to move to the public health restrictions.
Dr. Saxinger, thanks very much. We'll see you a little bit later in the program.
Thank you.